I was 35. We were fighting and I was furious. Michael just listened to me yell at him, and when I was done, he pulled me in for a kiss. August 7th. A torrential downpour. Michael had made it. I was a mob boss's lover. After the boss was executed, I woke up in his 18th year. I found the injured, teenage Michael in an alley and slammed him against the wall. You ever fight again? I kissed him hard, and I'll kiss you senseless. 3 years after Michael was executed, my life was over, too. I wasn't trying to follow him to the grave, I just miscounted the sleeping pills. I was just so desperate for a good night's sleep. But I never expected to wake up in the year 2010. This year, my dad hadn't gone bankrupt yet. Everyone who saw him still had to call him Mr. Johnston. This year, I was still a carefree rich kid who spent money like water. This year, I didn't know Michael. Michael had told me he went to CJ High, a school so shitty I'd never even heard of it. I remembered Michael holding me, lazily smoking a cigarette after we were done. There were a lot of dark alleys behind CJ, he'd said. I used to get into fights there. Never lost. The 30-year-old Michael's sharpness was hidden, his wildness and arrogance beaten down into his very bones. You couldn't see the ferocity on his face anymore. He spoke to everyone with a slight smile. The 30-year-old Michael was dominant, but gentle. Things like impulsiveness and recklessness seemed so far from him. We met too late. I'd missed the wild, untamed years of his life. I couldn't imagine what 18-year-old Michael looked like in a fight. I'd like to see that, I'd murmured. Michael had just chuckled and shook his head, rubbing the back of my neck. Better not. It would scare you off, my little prince. I never thought I'd one day get to see the 18-year-old Michael for myself. Just as he'd said. He might have never lost a fight, but that didn't mean he never got hurt. I was just trying my luck by the back gate of CJ High when I actually stumbled upon an injured Michael in an alley. A buzz cut, black t-shirt, track pants. Up close, I could smell the salty scent of sweat mixed with a faint hint of laundry soap. Michael was sitting against the wall, a steel pipe discarded at his feet. His eyes were closed, his chest heaving. Looked like he'd just finished a fight and hadn't caught his breath yet. He fumbled for a cigarette, stuck it between his lips, and looked up. The aggression in his eyes hadn't faded yet. When his gaze met mine, his tone was hostile. What are you looking at? TSK, still so fierce. Left me all alone for 3 years. 3 years without a single good night's sleep. And I'm not even allowed to look? Michael thought I was looking for trouble. His eyes were vicious. You looking for a fight, kid? He looked like he was ready to jump up and beat me to a pulp. Michael was tall and built, and the "don't mess with me" vibe was practically written on his forehead. If I were really 18, he probably would have scared me. But I wasn't 18. I was 38, his widower, a man he'd cherished and spoiled for 10 years. He couldn't scare me. Still acting tough after getting your ass kicked? I poked the bruise on the corner of his mouth, completely unafraid. Does it hurt? Fuck, Michael froze for a second. When he came to, he frowned and slapped my hand away. What the hell is wrong with you? Keep your hands to yourself before you get your ass beat. I raised an eyebrow. Now I was annoyed. He used to want to be stuck to me 24/7, and now I can't even touch him? Michael used the wall to pull himself up. He paused for a second, then started limping forward. His left leg was clearly busted. I steadied him. Is your leg hurt? Let's go to the hospital. Michael shoved me away, his voice sharp and wary. Leave me alone. Get lost. He pushed me so hard I almost fell. I had to laugh. I strode forward, grabbed his shoulder, and slammed him against the wall. I cupped his face and crushed my mouth against his, biting down hard. So impressive. Hurt in a fight and won't let anyone help. If you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all. A good kiss would shut him up. And Michael did shut up. His eyes were wide, his body rigid. He wasn't even breathing, his face turning beet red. I forgot. He was 18 this year, a total amateur who didn't even know how to kiss. Afraid I might actually suffocate him, I pulled back and gently patted his cheek. Breathe. He finally took a huge gulp of air. I chuckled. Weren't you so tough a minute ago? Say one more tough thing. I dare you. We're going to the hospital, I said. Michael stubbornly stuck his neck out. No. Oh? I leaned in closer, my lips brushing against his. He flinched back, trying to sound tough. If you try that again, I'm really going to hit you. If you're going to hit me, then do it. Stop shouting. I held back a laugh. Hospital? I helped him to the curb to hail a cab. No more fighting from now on, I said slowly. And if you absolutely have to, you call me. Michael sneered. Do I know you? Who do you think you are? Telling me what to do. My name is Lewis. I'm your future boyfriend. I turned my head and gave him a look. You dare fight behind my back again, and I'll kiss you senseless. Michael turned his head away and muttered. Psycho. What was that? Michael's face was blank. I didn't say anything, he said quickly. A minor fracture in his left leg. They put him in a cast at the hospital. I had my driver bring the car around. You're staying at my place, I told Michael. He refused. We just met. And you want me to stay at your house? Don't you think that's a little forward? I raised an eyebrow. What are you afraid of? Michael scoffed. I'm afraid you'll sell me. I laughed. You think you're worth anything? A dad on the run from debt. A mom who died of illness. A dirt-poor home. All Michael had left was his own life. He had nothing to lose, so he didn't value his life and had no plans for the future. That's how he ended up becoming a wanted man. Michael was speechless. He forced a smile and said nothing. I ruffled his spiky hair. Your leg's busted. I can't leave you home alone with no one to take care of you. Just stay with me until your leg's better. Then I'll let you go home. Michael narrowed his eyes, staring at me. How do you know there's no one at my house? Suspicious little wolf cub. I smiled and made something up on the spot. Because I have a crush on you. I've been watching you for a long time. I even know what color your underwear is, let alone your family situation. Michael grinned. Oh yeah? Then what color is my underwear? Black. The fuck? Michael was lost in thought the entire ride. After we got out of the car, he said coolly, Hey, I'm not into guys. Don't waste your time on me. Okay, I said, helping him into my house. Then why didn't you dodge when I kissed you? You let me kiss you for that long. Are you playing hard to get? I didn't want to hear his excuses, so I cut him off. Were my lips soft? You, soft or not? After being cut off twice, Michael finally burst out, frustrated. This has nothing to do with how soft your lips are. Stop changing the subject. Ha, I flicked his bright red earlobe. Stop playing coy. You know you liked it. When I kissed you, you were probably in heaven. He flinched at my touch, his breathing getting heavier. He pulled my hand away, unconsciously rubbing his ear, and gritted out, just shut up already. I smirked to myself. I could never win against the 30-year-old Michael, but this 18-year-old version? I had him right where I wanted him. My dad was away on a business trip. I didn't have the housekeeper make up the guest room. I took Michael straight to my bedroom. While he was in the shower, I leaned against the door and teased him. Hey, how's the leg holding up? Need me to come in and help? The doctor said you can't get it wet. My eyes widened and I shoved the bathroom door open. Michael was using the wall to stand up, the veins in his neck popping. He frowned and said, It's nothing. I just slipped. He was completely exposed to my gaze. His 18-year-old body wasn't as built as his 30-year-old's, but it was solid. His frame was broad and well-proportioned with beautiful muscle definition. His tan skin was covered in scars, old and new. I knew there would be more to come. Over the years, I'd kissed his scars more times than I could count. Every time I saw them, it felt like a knife to my heart. Thankfully, there weren't too many yet. Thankfully, Michael was only 18. I still had a chance to put a collar on this reckless stray. I closed the door, walked over, and stood in front of him. Michael's eyes were full of irritation. Who said you could come in? I can do it, I took the shower head in my hand. Michael, put your hands on my shoulders. I'll support you. I don't need it, he said through gritted teeth. Stubborn ox. I grabbed his wrist and draped his arm over my shoulder, then turned on the shower, carefully avoiding his injured leg as I rinsed him off. Michael tilted his head back, took a deep breath, and grabbed my hand. If you're gonna wash me, then just wash me, he said, his voice hoarse. Don't you dare try to seduce me. I glanced down and burst out laughing inside. I tapped his firm stomach with the shower head and mocked him. Not into guys. Huh? I haven't even really tried yet, and look at you. Your little friend down there doesn't seem to listen to you much, but he sure pays me some respect. Michael didn't dare meet my eyes. He lowered his head until his forehead was resting on my shoulder. Don't say that, he mumbled. His neck was completely red. He was so innocent right now. If I kept teasing him, he'd probably explode on the spot. I turned and kissed his ear, whispering enticingly, "Want me to help you?" Michael's breathing grew heavier. I bit him gently. "Beg me and I'll help you." Michael didn't move or make a sound. "Fine, we can take it slow." I shifted, trying to push him away. Michael must have thought I was leaving. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, and the arm around my shoulder tightened, pulling me into his embrace. He pressed his body against mine. "Please," he said, his voice raspy. That shower took 2 hours. I told Michael to sleep with me. After the round I just put him through, he didn't object. The bed was huge. We slept on opposite sides. After a while I said, "Michael, if I hold you while we sleep, will you hit me?" "Yes." I laughed, rolled over, and wrapped my arms around him from behind. I slowly tightened my grip. Tighter and tighter. This way he can't run away. This way he won't leave me all alone. When I was 25, my dad's business went bust. He jumped from the roof of his company building, leaving me with a corpse and a mountain of debt. To pay it off, I begged for money everywhere, swallowing my pride and dignity. I drank and laughed at their jokes at dinner parties, getting blackout drunk. Michael was at one of those parties. Afterwards, I was throwing up against a tree on the street. Michael handed me a bottle of water and asked, "Need money?" I rinsed my mouth and smiled. Desperately. Michael nodded. "Can you handle sleeping with a man?" "That'll cost extra," I said. Michael put out his cigarette and grinned. "Funny. I've got nothing but money." It was funny. Michael paid off my debts and I slept with him. For 10 years. Then Michael died. Before he died, he left me a pile of money. "Louis," he said, "don't sleep with people for money anymore. You'll run into scumbags." The last time I saw him, he was smiling, but his eyes were red. "I regret it. If I'd known I was going to meet you, I would have spent the first half of my life doing good deeds, praying for a long life. Louis, I can't rest easy." He never said what he couldn't rest easy about. He just said, "Louis, live a good life." His fingertips slid across the glass barrier, as if wiping my tears. "You fool. How could you fall in love playing the part of a secret lover? Pathetic. Don't cry. A guy like me isn't worth it." Whether he was worth it or not wasn't for him to decide. And it's not like he was any better. He kept a pair of rings pressed against his heart, never daring to take them out, not even at the end. This time around, I have one wish, for Michael to live to be 100. I'm going to save him. I won't let him go down that criminal path again, toward a dead end. If he doesn't value his own life, I'll value it for him. If he won't plan for the future, I'll plan it for him. I'll drag him, kicking and screaming, out of that abyss and pull him back onto the right path. I'll never forget the regret in his voice before he died. He didn't just regret it at the end, he'd regretted it for a long time. He just couldn't say it while he was alive, only letting it out when he was on the verge of death. Michael loved listening to my stories about college. He said he'd never gone. He said he'd taken a wrong turn early on, and after that, there was no going back. He said, "Who doesn't want to live a clean life? But not everyone can. You have to survive first, then you can worry about being clean." He said, "Louis, when I was young, no one told me what to do. No one told me which path to take. This time I'll hold his hand. I'll show him the way. Everything he wanted but couldn't have, everything he wanted to do but never did in his last life, I'll help him achieve it." After taking Michael in, I secretly transferred to CJ High. I walked into class at noon. The teacher was lecturing, and Michael was in the back, head on his desk, dead to the world. He was the only one sitting in the row in front of the trash cans. I quietly walked over, put my bag down next to him, and grabbed a book from his desk. I opened it. Wow, it was cleaner than my face. He hadn't even written his name in it. When the bell rang and the teacher left, I kicked Michael's chair. It was loud enough to silence the noisy classroom. The chubby kid in front of me jumped a good 6 feet away, eyeing the stirring Michael warily. New kid, I'd run if I were you. Or you're gonna be dead in a minute. Michael was really infamous for his temper. I smiled politely at the chubby kid. Thanks for the warning. Then I turned and kicked Michael's chair again. Michael stirred but didn't lift his head. He blindly threw a book in my direction and growled. Piss off. I caught the book and kicked his chair again. Fuck, is this ever gonna fucking end? Michael finally bothered to sit up. He glared at me and then froze. He stared at me for a long moment, then leaned his head back against the wall, wiped his face and muttered to himself, I'm still asleep. I threw the book back at him. Are you awake now? When the next bell rang, Michael whispered, What are you doing here? Transferred. Michael frowned. Why? Wasn't your old school good? CJ's academics are garbage. To chase you. What? I leaned in close and whispered in his ear, I transferred to chase you. Michael put a finger to my forehead and pushed me away, sneering. I hate lovesick fools the most. He dropped his hand, his face blank. Lewis, go back to your own school. The English teacher on the podium had had enough. Michael, take your new desk mate and go make out in the hall. He slowly covered his face with his hands. Ugh, so embarrassing. That one shout from the English teacher made me famous. From then on, I lost my name and became the wild new kid who makes out with Michael. By the third time, I dragged Michael out of a dead sleep and forced him to study. The look in the chubby kid's eyes had gone from horror to hero worship. He secretly gave me a thumbs up. New kid, you're a legend. Meanwhile, Michael's frustration was practically steaming out of his head. I pointed at the textbook, making him take notes. Right here. Mark this. Michael refused, hissing under his breath. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have a crush on me. I glanced at him. Write it down. Don't make me kiss you in this sacred classroom. Michael. After a full afternoon of my torture, the moment the bell rang, Michael shot up from his seat and hopped out of the room on one leg like he was escaping for his life. I grabbed the hem of his shirt and looked up at him. Where are you going? The bathroom. I'll go with you. No thanks, Michael said quickly. I stood up and put my arm around him. Come on. Your leg's busted, you can't manage. I'll hold it for you. Michael raised an eyebrow, repeating my words with a smirk. You'll hold it for me? He bit the inside of his cheek and chuckled. All right then. I paused for a second, then got it and laughed. This little bastard. He's been dirty since day one. But it was all talk. The moment I actually touched his waistband and made a move to hold it for him, Michael clamped his hand over mine. He lowered his voice. Shit, you're for real? He squeezed my hand, his ears turning red as he looked down. My bad, man. I can do it myself. Don't want you to get your hands dirty. Michael hesitated. I'm warning you, don't push it. My hand moved, reaching lower. Michael grabbed it tightly and took a deep breath. I'll recite. For a solid half a month, I watched over Michael, making him study during the day and memorize things at night. I even made him a study schedule. Michael was used to running wild, making him sit still, and study was like pulling teeth. Sometimes he'd get so frustrated he'd throw his books, give up, and start spouting threats. But pinning him down for a kiss always calmed him down. Michael was big and strong, but he let me press him down on the bed and kiss him until he was breathless. I lay on top of him, lording my power over him. No studying, more kissing. Michael had one arm over his eyes and the other around my waist, as if afraid I'd fall off. He sighed, his voice raspy. Lewis, what are you trying to do? Torturing me like this? Listening to his strong, steady heartbeat was so reassuring. Michael, have you ever thought about the future? I held him tighter. Let's get out of here, go to the same university. Okay. Go to school together, start a business together, grow old together. This time we'll support each other. No one gets to leave first. Okay. Michael didn't say anything. It had been a month since Michael had fought, skipped class, or shown up late. He even went from dead last on the monthly exam to 8th from last. He even learned to greet teachers, though I had to force him. My homeroom teacher held my hands, his eyes teary with praise. "Louis, my boy, I need to give you an award. That's really not necessary." But on the very day I received my Guardian of the Peace Award, Michael skipped school. I searched all over outside, finally finding him in an alley near his house. The cast was off his leg. He was dragging a steel pipe, heading toward a group of thugs across the way, confident and arrogant. Damn it, 1 against 6. The idiots got a death wish. I grabbed a brick and ran, catching up to him. I glanced at him, gritting my teeth. "I told you to call me if you were going to fight. Did you think I was joking? I'll deal with you when we get back." Michael froze for a second, then cursed. He dropped the pipe, forgot about the fight, and grabbed my wrist, pulling me into a run. The thugs behind us were yelling and chasing. The wind whipped through my hair as Michael yelled, "Are you a fucking idiot? Who the hell told you to come here?" I was running too hard to speak. We wove through a few streets and alleys, losing them, before Michael finally let me go. My heart was about to explode. I bent over, hands on my knees, gasping for breath. Michael glanced at me, then turned to leave. I grabbed his wrist, staring at him. "Where are you going? Come back to school with me." Michael stood with his back to me, silent for a few seconds. His voice was icy. "Let go." Not only did I not let go, I tightened my grip. Michael looked down at my hand. "Louis, it's been a month. Aren't you tired of this game yet?" My heart went cold. "What did you say? Everything has an end. You've had your fun, now go home." "I'm busy. I really don't have time to play this save the troubled kid game with you." Michael spoke calmly, but every word hammered a hole in my heart. I stood up straight, trembling with anger, and grabbed his collar. "You think everything I've done is a game to you? You little bastard. You ungrateful little shit. What else would it be?" I wanted to laugh, but couldn't. My eyes were red with rage. "You think I'm so damn bored I'd come to this shithole to mess around with an idiot like you? You think I'm crazy, running around taking care of you when you're hurt? You think I'm a masochist, staying up all night making study plans and organizing notes for you? A game? I poured my heart out for you, and you think I was just playing around? Michael, even if you're deaf and can't hear me say I like you, you're not blind, are you? I've laid my heart out, bare and raw, right here. Can't you see it?" Smoke swirled around his cold, hard face. Michael was unmoved, his voice deep and frigid. "Louis, you think you're so great, so devoted, don't you?" He scoffed. "Stop with the self-pity." I froze, my heart clenching. I managed a disbelieving laugh. "What did you say?" I said, "You're delusional. It's all one-sided. You've forced all these expectations on me without ever asking if I wanted them." Michael laughed, a cruel expression on his face. "Study hard, be a good student. To hell with studying hard. Louis, if you like good, obedient students so much, you should have just found a straight-A kid. Why did you have to try and fix me? You're just making everyone miserable. For more than 10 years, I've been living just fine. There's nothing wrong with me, and I don't want to change. This is who I am. Scum. A lost cause. I can't study and I won't learn. I can't go to some damn university with you, and I don't have a future." Michael flicked the ash from his cigarette, his eyes downcast. "Louis, I'm not like you. You want me to stand beside you, but I can't. You're just going to be disappointed sooner or later. I heard you on the phone with your dad that day." Michael finished his cigarette, his voice incredibly hoarse. "Your dad was right. CJ is a shithole. You don't belong here. You should go back to your old school. We're not on the same path." Michael heard Louis on the phone, arguing with his father. He smoked 3 cigarettes in the bathroom. Louis's dad was right. CJ was a dump, and Louis was brilliant. Really, he should have chased him away the first day Louis transferred. He had 100 ways to make the pampered little prince give up and run. In the end, he didn't use a single one. The moment Louis leaned in with those eager eyes and kissed him, his brain went blank. Michael was terrified of Louis kissing him. It wasn't that he wasn't moved. It was that he was too moved. So moved that dark thoughts began to sprout. A desire to possess him, to tie the kid up so he could never leave. That day Louis held him and talked about going to the same university. Michael's blood ran hot. For that whole month, he'd even forgotten what kind of trash he was. He actually put effort into studying, actually fantasized about going to the same university as Lewis. Until the debt collectors showed up. The leader, a guy called Scarface, said, "That new friend of yours is rich, right? Ask him for a loan." It was like a bucket of ice water poured over his head, chilling him to the bone. He had only one thought. He couldn't let these scumbags get their claws into Lewis. His own life was cheap. If it was ruined, it was ruined. But Lewis was so bright and beautiful. The thought of him being ruined was unbearable. Michael seethed with hatred. He hated his fate, hated his deadbeat dad, and hated himself. Why couldn't he ever learn? A guy like Lewis, how could he even dare to dream of him? He wasn't worthy. Michael's words were vile, designed to tear a person down. He tore me down and he tore himself down. I couldn't take it anymore. I hit him. I grabbed his shirt and punched him 3 times in the gut. I was furious. I bit down on his chin, hissing, "Where I go to school is none of your business. And whether we're on the same path or not isn't for you to decide." Then I moved up, going for his mouth. Michael tried to dodge, but I slapped him and he went still. He was like a corpse, just letting me kiss him. The more I kissed him, the angrier I got. Michael's face was cold, but his body was on fire. What an act. After venting my anger, I calmed down. I held his shoulders, suppressing my temper. "Talk to me. What really happened? If you told me Michael didn't like me, I wouldn't believe a word of it. I knew him better than anyone. I was his kryptonite. In Michael's own words, not a fraction more, not a fraction less. Every inch of you was made for me. If Michael didn't like me, there was no one in this world he liked. He was the one who gave me that confidence." For 10 years, the older man had practically ripped his heart out for me to play with. For the past month, I'd had this one completely under my thumb. He'd snarl a little when studying got too much, but a few kisses would smooth his fur right back down. He wouldn't be acting like this, trying so hard to push me away, unless something was seriously wrong. I figured if we just talked it out, we could solve it. But Michael didn't seem to think so. He asked coldly, "Are you done with your tantrum? If you're done, then let go." He pushed me away and straightened his rumpled clothes. "If you want to stay at CJ, stay. You're right, I can't control you. But by the same token, you can't control me either." Michael didn't show up to school for a week. His message was clear. As long as I was there, he wouldn't be. I was still trying to figure out what to do about that when my dad came home from his business trip, and we got into a huge fight about my transfer. I blurted out, "Mind your own business and go check your company's books." The old man was supremely confident. "What the hell do you know about my company? Just worry about yourself. You know how many people you've pissed off in business. You've been so focused on chasing deals lately. Have you even looked at the books? A small leak can sink a great ship. If you're not careful, someone's going to screw you over, and then you'll be crying. It's not a big deal, just have someone look." The old man stared at me, then chuckled. "You've got a lot on your mind, don't you?" From his tone, I knew he'd taken it to heart. I breathed a sigh of relief. I was afraid he wouldn't listen to me. I brought it up a few more times after that, and he actually started looking into it. And he actually found something. Mr. Johnston was going to be busy again. He still had 7 years until bankruptcy. If things got really bad then, I'd bail him out. Since I couldn't find Michael at school, I rented an apartment near his house. I was still fuming, so I didn't rush to find him. That's just how Michael was. He always tried to carry everything himself. His mouth was clamped shut tighter than a clam. Back when the anti-gang crackdown was coming down on him, he was in a total mess but never said a word to me. I didn't even know he'd been arrested until his verdict came out. Since Michael wouldn't talk, I'd find out myself. I hired a private investigator to follow him for a few days, and sure enough, he dug something up. His dad's business failed, so he borrowed $3 million from a loan shark and skipped town. With the interest, it's probably more than that now. The collectors show up every now and then, but the kid's a tough bastard. Never takes a beating lying down. Every time they go to collect, it turns into a bloodbath. The collectors got tired of the hassle, so after a few fights, they made a deal. $800 a month. The kid works odd jobs so he can manage the 800. But recently, the collectors heard he made a rich friend, so now they think 800 is too little. They want him to borrow 200,000 from the rich friend and pay it all at once. I got it. The rich friend was me. No wonder Michael was in such a hurry to distance himself from me. I paid the PI and asked him to keep following Michael for a couple more days. The detective waved his hands. No way. The kid spotted me, chased me for 2 blocks. If I wasn't a fast runner, I'd have gotten my ass kicked. If I keep following him, he'll ruin my reputation. I didn't push it. Michael didn't want me involved in his mess. He wouldn't open up to me. He wanted to push me out of his world and sink alone. Michael did jobs that paid fast, which also meant they were high risk. He was good with his fists, so he worked security at various clubs. They called it security, but really he was just a hired thug. I put on my sluttiest outfit, a thin sweater with a plunging neckline, and went to the bar where Michael worked. When Michael saw me, he froze. His gaze was like a sharpened blade, scanning me from head to toe. His brow furrowed deeply, and he clenched his jaw, but he didn't say anything. A little blonde pretty boy came over to share our table, his hands accidentally brushing against me as he tried to get me to drink. Then he pulled out a cigarette, brought a lighter close, and leaned in. "Smoke?" he asked. I leaned down to take the cigarette from his fingers and reached for the lighter. Before I could light it, the cigarette was plucked from my mouth. I looked up to see Michael with the damp cigarette between his own lips. He tilted his head, lit it, took a drag, and stubbed it out in the ashtray. "Sorry," he said to the blondie. "He doesn't smoke." He exhaled a cloud of smoke and squeezed the back of my neck, his eyes fixed on me. "Are you done playing?" My head was spinning. I smiled at him. Michael's eyes darkened. He frowned in frustration and pinched my cheek in retaliation. Hissing, "You still have the nerve to smile." He pulled me up from the couch and dragged me out. The blondie wasn't happy. He grabbed my arm, refusing to let go. "Dude, ever hear of first come, first served?" Michael brushed his hand off, his tone flat. "What makes you so sure you were first?" The blondie tried to grab me again. Michael pulled me back a step, pressing me into his chest. He pointed a finger at the guy, his eyes dark and full of menace. "Don't move. You touch him again, and I'm afraid I'll snap and break you. For real. Stay put. Don't test me. It's for your own good." When Michael got angry, he was terrifying. The blondie didn't dare move a muscle. Michael dragged me out of the bar. We walked through a few alleys until the noise faded, and then he stopped. The second he let go of my wrist, my back slammed against a wall as he pressed down on me. He bit my lips, gnawing on them like a dog. His hand slid under my loose sweater, roughly kneading my chest before moving lower. His hands were calloused and strong. His touch was both numb and painful. He kissed me hard, forcing my head back until my neck felt like it would break. He kissed his way down my chin to my throat, my collarbone. Deciding I was too short, he grabbed my waist and lifted me up, wedging one of his legs between mine to hold me steady. Couldn't help it. I tilted my head back, crying out his name between breaths. Michael's kisses grew more aggressive. He pulled my sweater up and bit my chest. His hand kneaded my stomach as he reached for my pants. A jolt went through me. I grabbed his hand, trying to stop him. "Michael, enough. We can't. We were outside. Why not?" Michael looked up, his breathing ragged, his palm flat against my stomach. His lips were wet, his eyes clouded. "You dressed like this. You came to me flaunting yourself. Isn't this what you wanted?" That sobered me up fast. The fire he'd lit inside me was extinguished. "What did you say?" I asked in disbelief. Michael chuckled, his tone cruel. "Why are you pretending? You've been trying to seduce me all night. Did you really think I couldn't tell? You want it? I'll give it to you." I slapped him across the face and shoved him off me with all my strength. The blow knocked his head to the side. The corner of his mouth was bleeding. His dark eyes reflected the streetlight, cold and piercing. After a moment, he raised a hand and wiped the blood from his lip. I turned to leave. I'd only taken a few steps when Michael caught up, grabbing my wrist and pulling me back. "Where are you going?" I sneered. Is that any of your business? You're right, it's not. Michael pulled up the gaping collar of my sweater, his voice still hard. But if you're gonna go whore yourself out, do it somewhere else. Don't be a cheap fuck in front of me. Every word he said was a knife. I nodded. Fine. I'll go find a place where you can't see me and find someone to screw. Michael's grip on my hand tightened. He stared at me fiercely, so angry he couldn't speak. He just stood there, frozen. I tried to pull my wrist free. Let go. He still didn't move. He slowly suppressed his rising anger, finally managing to choke out, "That's not what I meant." After a long silence, Michael lowered his head. "I was wrong today," he mumbled. "Don't be mad at me. Just go home, Louis. I'm begging you. Please go home, don't be like this." I saw the teenager's red-rimmed eyes. He was like a caged animal, unable to break free from the net that trapped him. He'd tried every cruel tactic he could think of and had finally run out of options. Now he was bowing his head, begging me for mercy. I looked up and took a deep breath. "Louis, you're such an asshole. Why do you have to torture him like this? He's already in so much pain." For him to say those heart-stabbing words, he must have first carved them into his own heart 1,000 times. I was hurting and so was he. But if it doesn't hurt, he won't learn. I took 2 steps forward, cupped his face, and kissed his red-rimmed eyes. "Michael, do you really think I'll be okay on my own?" Michael shuddered at my kiss but didn't speak. "Look," I continued, "I won't be better off alone. Really. If you leave me, I'm capable of anything. I've already gone crazy. If you don't hold on to me, I'll just go die." "Louis, what do you even see in me?" Michael asked, his voice breaking. He viciously trampled himself into the mud. "I'm not fucking worth it. I'm not worth it for you. Don't you get it? Why do you have to get tangled up with me? You deserve better, and that's not me." Whether he was 18 or 30, whether he had nothing or was a success, deep down, Michael always felt he wasn't good enough for me. At 30, he clutched a pair of rings in silence. I asked him, "Better? Michael, is there anyone in this world who could be better to me than you?" Michael stared at me for a long time, then lowered his head, covering his face with his hands. He slowly sank to the ground, curling into a ball. I heard the 18-year-old Michael's suppressed sobs, hoarse and choked. "Why are you pushing me? I can't let go. I fucking can't let go either." I'd backed him into a corner, leaving him no room to retreat. After disappearing for 2 months, Michael was dragged back to CJ High by me. The little progress he'd made in his studies was completely wiped out. After I laid into him, Michael was noticeably more obedient. He even started taking notes on his own. I smiled in satisfaction, then glanced at his desk and my blood boiled. "This is math class. Why the hell are you writing in your physics book?" I could feel he was distracted. Not only was he distracted, he was tense all the time, his temper getting worse and worse. At first, I couldn't get a reason out of him. Then, I saw him in an alley, chumming it up with the debt-collecting thugs from that day. They were all ganging up on a middle-aged man. Michael's expression was blank, but his blows were heavy. After getting the money from the man, the guy with the scar on his face slung an arm around Michael's shoulder and grinned. "You're the man, brother. We've been chasing this deadbeat for 3 months and couldn't get a dime. You roughed him up and he coughed it right up. Vance was right about you. You were born for this line of work. You should have started with Vance sooner. You'd be rich by now. Let's go grab a bite." "Huh?" Michael shrugged his arm off, picked up his backpack from beside the wall, and waved as he walked away. "Can't. I've got something to do." I followed him from a distance. I watched Michael duck into a public restroom and slowly wash the blood from his hands. He stood under my rented apartment for a while, then turned and went home. When he came out again, he'd changed his clothes. He was carrying his backpack in his left hand and an English book in his right, heading toward my place. He recited vocabulary words the entire way. He got to my building and still hadn't memorized them, so he stood in the stairwell reciting them for a bit before coming up. I said coolly, "Great. Now do your math." Michael just stared at me. I turned back to my own homework. Michael sidled up to me, annoyed. "Louis, did you forget something?" I didn't even look up. "What?" "I got a perfect score on my English dictation." Michael propped his head on his hand, his gaze burning into me. Louis, you forgot to kiss me. He tapped the dictation paper. You always kiss me when I get a perfect score on English. Kiss him? I was in a good mood for not punching him. I slammed my pen down, looked him straight in the eye, and asked deliberately, Michael, who's Vance? If I waited for him to confess on his own, I'd be waiting forever. Vance. I knew him. Back then, he was the chairman of the JB group. He died in my 3rd year with Michael. Michael had destroyed him. After he died, Michael dug up his grave, then sat on the balcony and smoked half a pack of cigarettes. He'd said, almost joking, if it weren't for him, maybe I could have been a good person. Later, when Michael was arrested, his crimes weren't originally a capital offense. He was sentenced to death because he'd killed someone. He'd been forced to be Vance's enforcer, had gotten blood on his hands. He wasn't innocent. Vance had pushed a desperate Michael into hell. I thought that by pulling Michael back this time, I could help him avoid Vance. But Michael had been lying to me. I thought he'd learned his lesson, but it was all an act for my benefit. He still wouldn't tell me anything. He still tried to carry everything himself, as if his own rotten life could handle the weight. Michael shot to his feet, knocking over his chair. He leaned over the backrest, his eyes tense, a hint of fury in his brow. How do you know about him? Did they find you? Did they threaten you? I just looked at him silently. Michael stood up straight, paced the room a couple of times, then leaned back over me, cupping my face. He was frantic, speaking rapidly. Louis, don't be scared. Go back to your house for a few days. Don't stay here. You have a driver, bodyguards, you'll be safe. Don't come looking for me for a while. You, Michael. I gripped his arm, trying to calm him. Calm down. I'm not scared. He was the one who was scared. Michael was silent for a moment, a vein throbbing in his forehead. He turned and bolted for the door. I jumped up and wrapped my arms around his waist. Where are you going? The string in Michael's mind had snapped. His eyes were bloodshot, like a cornered, furious beast. I'm going to find them. I'm going to kill them. I did everything they asked. Why would they come after you? If that's how it is, then nobody gets to live. Michael fell silent, his back to me, perfectly still. I said softly, Michael, they used me to threaten you, didn't they? Michael pulled my hands away. You saw it all, he said, his voice hoarse. I have no future. All I have is a $10 million debt and endless trouble. Louis, think about it again. Think really hard. He opened the door. Without looking back, he said in that same rough voice, Louis, even if you give up on me, it's okay. Michael had retreated back into his shell. I sold my personal belongings, took out the allowance money I'd saved up for over a decade, and scraped together 30 grand. I went to that Scarface guy and asked to see Vance. $30,000 to buy Michael a year. And I promised that within 5 years, Michael would pay back everything he owed. I thought it would be difficult. I'd even planned what to do if Vance refused to let him go. But Vance agreed surprisingly easily. It was a bad debt he never expected to collect. Now someone was willing to pay to fill the hole. Vance had no reason to refuse and didn't play hard to get, afraid the money would disappear. Vance wasn't relying heavily on Michael yet. He didn't see him as important, just using him for collections and such. In Vance's eyes, the current Michael wasn't worth 30 grand. Vance counted the money and smiled at me. I told that kid to borrow from you, but he wouldn't listen. It's not like I want to make things hard for him. It's just, a debt's a debt. I didn't have time for his bullshit. I gave him a couple of curt replies and left. Outside, the sun was bright, so bright it hurt my eyes. It was all so laughable, so goddamn messed up. On the 3rd day of Michael's absence from school, I broke into his house. It was the first time I'd ever been to his home. The apartment was small, with very few things, all neatly arranged. The only mess was the scattered liquor bottles in the living room and Michael himself, passed out on the couch, clutching a bottle. I paid the locksmith and walked over, crouching by the sofa. I patted Michael's face. Wake up. Michael frowned, opened his eyes, and stared at me for a long moment before letting go of the bottle to hug me. He was strong. He rolled over, pulling me with him, trapping me between his body and the sofa. His long limbs enveloped me, holding me tight. He nuzzled his chin against my head, murmuring, "Louis," and again, "Louis, don't go. Don't ignore me. Look who's talking." Who was ignoring who? Michael was clearly out of it, half drunk and half delirious with fever. He was burning up to the touch. I tried to push him. "Michael, let go. You have a fever. I need to find you some medicine." That was a mistake. Pushing him only made him hold on tighter. "No," he said unreasonably. Then he added, "I got a perfect score on my English dictation." He still remembered that. His large hand found my face, fumbling to kiss me, from my nose to my lips. "Perfect score," he mumbled hoarsely. "Reward me." I realized then that all the other times I'd pushed him away, he'd been holding back. If Michael didn't want to move, I couldn't budge him at all. The guy's strength was insane. With his eyes closed, he kissed me from head to toe. He pushed my shirt up and kissed all the way down to my navel, then started pulling at my pants. Michael grabbed my wrist, kissing his way down my hand, mumbling incoherently, "No fever. Not sick. I'm fine. Fine my ass." I was burning up just from his touch. Running on fumes and a fever, Michael collapsed the moment he was done. My legs trembling, I found 2 fever reducers and somehow managed to feed them to him. I fell onto the bed and was out like a light. That animal. We'll settle this when he wakes up. When I woke again, it was dusk. The light was dim. Michael was sitting on the edge of the bed, smoking. I scooted closer and, when he wasn't looking, I snuffed out the cigarette with my fingers. "Fuck." Michael quickly pulled the cigarette away, stubbed it out in the ashtray, and grabbed my hand. He stared at the fresh burn mark, a vein throbbing in his forehead. "Louis, are you asking for it? That's a lit cigarette. You put it out with your bare fucking hand." I didn't really care. "Don't smoke anymore," I said. "You're too young for bad habits. You'll get sick when you're older." Michael didn't say anything, just stared at my hand. After a long moment, he brought my burned finger to his lips. The tip of my finger was enveloped in softness. My heart softened, too. I pulled my hand away and cupped his face, kissing him. Michael wrapped his arms around my waist, letting me kiss him for a while before pulling me into a tight hug. "You've got me," he said, his voice hoarse. Michael's grades were abysmal and he'd started studying way too late. Naturally, his college entrance exam scores were a disaster. 268. The score devastated him. I wanted to stay with him while he studied for the retake, but Michael refused. But he couldn't win an argument against me. That year of studying, Michael worked himself to death. Sometimes I'd get up in the middle of the night and see him at his desk, head buried in books under a single lamp. Before, I was the one forcing him to study. Now, I was the one forcing him to rest. Michael didn't seem to mind. He'd just comfort me, "It's okay. I'm not tired." Several times, he fell asleep while eating. I'd get so mad I'd start a fight, and Michael would just listen to me yell, then pull me in for a kiss when I was done. Until one time, after a fight, he looked down and said, "Louis, I can't let you down. You said we'd go to college together. I remember. You can't forget either. Louis, I don't want you to have to settle for me." Michael stroked my face, his gaze gentle. "You deserve the best. But if it has to be me, then I want to be the best." Michael didn't know. He had always been the best. I was 35. Even my dad couldn't stop singing his praises. The praise, of course, was also because 10 years ago, Michael had helped him through his bankruptcy crisis. To fill the hole in my dad's books back then, Michael had given him all his savings, nearly bankrupting his own fledgling company. August 7th. A torrential downpour. I dreamed of Michael's grave. When I jolted awake, I just stared blankly at the heavy rain outside. The door behind me opened. I heard a man's ragged breathing. Michael burst in, soaked from the rain, panting, his eyes red. I was stunned. "Weren't you on a business trip?" "How?" Michael rushed forward and threw himself at me, holding me so tight it hurt, calling my name. "Louis, Louis." Hot drops of water fell on my neck. Michael's voice was hoarse and choked with sobs. "My Louis, you suffered so much." In that instant, tears streamed down my face. I clutched his shirt and wailed. Michael, I dreamed you were dead. I'm not going to die. I'm going to stay with my Lewis and live to be 100.